In this video, I will talk about the epithelial tissue. As you may know, there are 4 different types of basic tissues: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle, and nerve. I have different videos for each, so this video will only talk about epithelial tissue. The function of the epithelial tissue, one is protection, so it covers the whole body, so as skin, and that is protecting the body against any chemical agent entering the body, any infections, and also physical agents, so protecting the body against the physical damage. It also covers inside the hollow organs. So this is an example of a hollow organ, which is it has a cavity and then it has a wall. And respiratory system, gastrointestinal system, urogenital system, and cardiovascular system, they're all hollow organs. So the epithelial tissue covering inside of those organs as well. It's important for sensation, so different nerve endings are in the skin and the epithelial tissue. And the other one is for absorption. So anything that you eat or drink, that will be go to the small intestine, can be absorbed there. And secretion can be different ways. It can be through the skin, like sweating, or it can be directly to the blood, for example, thyroid hormone or insulin. And also it can be in the hollow organs, for example, saliva or mucus can be secreted. Characteristics of epithelial tissue: one is polarity, so it means that one side is different than the other side. This is the lumen, or inside the hollow organ. So this can be microvilli or it can be cilia. So this side is different than the other side. There is made of multiple cells. They are connected to each other. So this is why this cellularity is important for protection. It has a basement membrane. So the lowest layer or the deepest layer of the epithelial tissue is attached to the basement membrane by hemidesmosome. Avascularity, does not have any blood vessels, so getting nutrients through diffusion. And regeneration, so this is you can see a type of epithelial tissue that has multiple layers, and the lowest layer, this is the basal layer, and this is the one that produces new cells. Because of physical or chemical damage or biological damage, the superficial layers are constantly damaged, and the new cells are formed from here. And this can be one layer. If it is one layer, again, this you can see this is the basement membrane here, and the epithelial tissue does not have any blood vessels. This is connective tissue, and you can see the blood vessels through the connective tissue. Epithelial tissue is divided into squamous, cuboidal, columnar, and transitional. Some sources put the transitional as part of the columnar, but I think it should be as a separate classification. If it is flat, because squamous means flat and it's only one layer, this is called simple. And if it is multiple layers, still flat, this is called stratified. Cuboidal, square shape, one layer, that's called simple. If it's multiple layer, that is called stratified. Columnar, so tall, and it has one layer, that's called simple. Pseudostratified, it looks multiple layers, but it's still one layer, and stratified, that is more than one layer. And transitional is different, so the deeper part is more or less cuboidal or irregular shape, and more superficial ones are balloon shaped, so they're really enlarged. But if there is a pressure there, then these superficial cells flattens and become like this or like this. So this is why it's transitioning from one shape to another shape. So a squamous epithelia divided, as I said before, into simple and stratified. So the simple one is one thin layer. This one thin layer, and this is why it is very good for absorption and diffusion. So where do you see that? You see that in the mesothelium. Mesothelium is in the body cavities, so it has two different layers, and then some fluid is secreted here, and that is to reduce friction. You can see it in the endothelium. This can also be an example of an endothelium, so the blood can pass through this. So endothelium is in the blood vessels. In the kidneys, this is an example of the simple squamous. And in the lungs, for gas exchange, so this is area, it's called alveoli, and that also flat cells. The stratified squamous, because it's multiple layers, that's why it's for protection. So you can see it in the skin. If you see it in the skin, this is epidermis, and this is the area that is keratinized. So, it's an important way to protect the body. So chemicals, especially water-soluble chemicals, cannot pass through the skin, and also it's protecting the skin against infections and physical damage. Then other parts of the body does not have keratinization. So you can see it in the mouth, in the esophagus, and the rectum and vagina, any area that has a lot of friction, physical friction is there. Then you can see stratified squamous epithelium. Cuboidal can be one layer. So if there's one layer, it's called simple. That is for secretion and absorption, not for protection. So you can see it in the glands that produces different secretions, or in the ducts. You can see in the ducts, and this is another one. So you can see it, or you can see it in the kidneys. So it's just one layer. This is the lumen, or the hollow part of the hollow organ, and this is one layer here, one layer there. And in this one, you can see this is one layer here, and partially you can see another layer there. So they all look like this. And stratified is mainly for protection, but it can also secrete or absorb things. You can see in some of the ducts, it's more than one layer. So example, let's see, this is one layer like this. And you can see this area has a few other cells. So this is a few other cells. Or this one, it can be one layer here, and this is another layer here. So it's not perfect because of the way they cut it, but you can still see two different layers here. Or in this area, you can see different layers, this area. Transitional is going from one shape to another shape. So this is when the area is relaxed, and this is usually you see it in the urinary tract, not in the kidneys. You see it in the ureter, urinary bladder, and urethra. When there is no urine, the lumen is empty, and the cells are balloon shaped. But when it fills up with urine, it's compressed, and these cells are flattened, so it looks like stratified squamous. I don't have an example of that, but you can you see that these cells, these are a enlargement of this tissue, and you can see these cells are all balloon shaped. Once this area fills up with urine, it's compressed and flattens. Columnar, so you can have a simple columnar. Simple columnar is one layer for secretion and absorption. Usually you see the nuclei is in one layer. These things that you see, these are mucus cells. These dots that you see, grayish area, these are the mucus cells. And here is a good example. It's just tall, one layer, and the nuclei are almost in the middle, in the same level, similar to this. It may have cilia or may not have. It may have microvilli or may not have. And pseudostratified looks like multiple layer, but it's not multiple layer because the way it looks like that some of the nuclei are in the middle, some are in the upper part, some are in the lower part, so it may look like multiple layer, but all of them are attached to the basement membrane here. So it's for secretion and movement of mucus, and that's why it has cilia, common area that you see in the nose, in the trachea and bronchi. So this and also in small part of the male reproductive system. Here you can see this is like, it looks like one layer, and then this one looks like another layer, but all of them are attached here at the basement membrane. This is the basement membrane. And stratified, so the deeper layers are cuboidal shape. The superficial layer is columnar. It is because it's multiple layer, that's why it's for protection. It's not that common. You see the throat, you see it in some ducts and also in urethra. So this is one cell here. This is like one layer of cells. And then this is the second layer. You can see this is the second layer of cells. These are the second layer, and then this is the third layer that you can see. So 3 different layers compared with the previous pseudostratified, that all of them are end up here in the basement membrane. Some way it's attached there. A mode of secretions, there is different ways epithelial tissue secretes. One is called merocrine secretions, and there is the sweat or accumulated in the vesicles, and these vesicles are released. And apocrine, which is a different type of sweat gland. You see it in the genital area and axillary area, and the upper part of the cytoplasm is damaged and released, but the cell survive. So the cell survives in apocrine and also the merocrine glands. But in holocrine, this is in sebaceous glands that produce oil, and the cell produces a lot of those vesicles, and finally it bursts, then killing the cell, and then there are new cells are formed at the basal layer, and that will continue. Glands are classified simple or compound. Simple is the one that has only one duct, and compound has multiple ducts. Okay, it can be a simple tubular, so it's elongated. An example is an intestine, or simple branch, still tubular, elongated, but has more than one gland. So this is called simple tubular, simple branch tubular. And that's, you can see it in the esophagus, in the stomach, you see it in the mouth. And this is coiled, so simple coiled because it has only one duct here. An example is in sweat glands. And this is called simple alveolar, so it is spherical shape or acini. This is during development. You don't see it in adults. And then it's simple branched alveolar because it's multiple glands, it's still a spherical. And then you can see that in the sebaceous glands that produce oil. Compound one, it has more than one duct. So this is, you can see one duct here. This is a common duct, and these smaller ducts are drained here. So same thing here, common duct. These are smaller ducts that are drained here. Same idea here. Common duct, smaller ducts are drained in this one. So this is the compound tubular. So many of them branched, and also it has multiple ducts, so that's why it's called compound. It's elongated. Example is in the testes and in the mouth. And compound alveolar, so it looks spherical, many of them, and it has multiple ducts, and that you see it in a mammary gland in females, and the combination of the two. So some of them are alveolar, and some of them are tubular. And then that one you can see it in the pancreas and in the respiratory tract. And if you like this video, please write in comment. If you have any question, please write it down and I'll try to answer it. And if you like the content of this video, subscribe to this channel because I will have more videos that I will upload regularly. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.